Sorry for about a 2-3 minute delay. We were just sorting out some tech issues on our end, so it took a little bit of a while. So, what we're doing is we are essentially trying to kill two birds with one stone yesterday. So, in fact, since the last week and this week itself, you should now have one consolidated note on labor reforms, one consolidated note on industrial disasters, one consolidated note on defense as an industry, one consolidated note on coal and minerals. अब तक ये हो गया होना चाहिए था आपके पास, right? So as and when we get along, we'll keep on adding more and more. ठीक है? Now, what are we going to do today? Today we are going to do two announcements which happened as a part of the Atmanirbhar package, but the announcements are not really that important in terms of the larger relevance of the exam. But what is more important is the sector at large. Thankfully, we've been fortunate enough that nothing else apart from Corona is happening in the world. Otherwise, the world would have been in a much more difficult place. So there isn't a lot of core current affairs as such happening. It's a blessing in disguise in a way. So you essentially get some time to get ready to prepare for current affairs in a larger ecosystem. Okay, so that's the larger idea. Pankaj, if there were a case that the Afghanistan unity government, by the way, which is essentially formation of a new government, once there will be that one article on the impact of Afghanistan's new government on Indo-Afghan relations, I myself will tell you. Until then, let me, do my job. Okay? Thank you. So today, we're looking at two more sectors, which is aviation and okay. Both of them were given a little bit of focus in the package which was announced last week, and we'll take both of those from a larger sectoral point of view and figure out how do we get this right. Okay, we'll start with aviation. This is my name, my email, my Telegram channel, and of course the code in case you're looking to buy. Right, we're still on the Atmanirbhar package. So let's cover aviation. Now, with respect to aviation, what were the key announcements? What were the key announcements which were made as a part of the Atmanirbhar package? Okay, now pay attention. They're essentially largely about three things. One is what can we do to reduce the flying cost so that the passengers of air travel benefit, and as well you will ensure that the there are questions in the question box. Okay, always remember this. And don't worry, once all of this is done, I'll put it at the end of the day. I'm sure this wasn't that important a question, So always remember, please put anything tech related or anything which is requiring for you to answer, that has to be in the comment box. Otherwise, everything else in the question box. Okay? Please don't break the flow of the class. It's very, very important. Okay? All right. So with respect to the flying cost, it's very simple. They've spoken about a few things which will make sure that the airlines are able to afford better. The air passengers are able to afford better. Both of those things. Airlines as well as air passengers. So let's see. Restrictions on utilization of Indian airspace will be eased. Okay? Which essentially means what happens is, I'll explain this through a blank slide. Delhi, Mumbai. A A Delhi-Mumbai flight is never a straight line. If you've ever been on the same route, you will often hear the pilot announcing, oh, there is Jaipur, then probably Vadodara, and then probably Surat, and then Vadodara, and then they sort of descend. Sometimes they also take the Bhopal, Agra, and then they descend into Delhi route. It's never a straight line from Delhi to Bombay, which could essentially be a case. Now, there are multiple reasons this can't be a straight line. One of the reasons why this can't be a straight line, one of the core reasons why this can't be a straight line, is because the aircrafts have to keep reporting from one nearest air traffic control center to the next air traffic control center. Second, on this line, there are a lot of airspaces which are prohibited, on which commercial aircrafts can't fly. These are the two reasons. Okay, these are the two primary reasons, which is the problem. So, what you want to do is now optimally utilize airspace. Open up some more airspaces, reduce the actual distance that have to be covered. So what will happen is, because of this, you will have a reduction in fuel use and time, which means aircrafts will consume lesser fuel and will consume lesser time, so they can cover more sectors in the given time. So it's a smart thing to do. It makes a lot more sense. This, okay, and of course, when you use lesser fuel, lesser environmental impact. Now, let's understand this. When we talk about flying cost and we talk about these major benefits, this is where your organization skills should come into being. These are measures which are largely in the hands of the government. These are policy-related measures. Okay, they have been announced. Let's see when it eventually opens up. Right? Infrastructure. Now, you don't have to get into the technical details of first round of bidding, second round of bidding, revenue of 6,000 crores. Like nothing. What we're talking about is setting up more airports on a public-private partnership model, so that more revenue and jobs can be increased. So that more revenue and jobs can be increased. Clear with this? Now, next. This is something that we now want to push. Maintenance, repair and overhaul of what? Of aircrafts. You must understand, aircrafts are really, really fancy cars. Now, most of us will not change our cars every year, maybe every 5 years, every 10 years, whenever. But as much as possible, we try to run our car. We give it for regular servicing, we make sure that the engines and the parts are running smoothly, and as much as possible, we keep getting some changes made. If you think if a car is expensive, you can only imagine how expensive aircrafts can be. And aircrafts usually have a life of about 30 to 50 years, depending on how good the aircraft has been maintained. Minimum 30 to 50 years, right? Now, what you can always do is, please refresh if there's a problem, then get back. Okay? Now, this industry of maintaining aircrafts, repairing aircrafts, overhauling aircrafts. Why would you do this? Because a lot of times what happens is airlines often buy used aircrafts of other airlines, repaint it, and then reuse it. Because it's just a smarter thing to do. Like a lot of times, it makes sense to buy an underused second-hand car than to spend twice as much and get a brand new car, because after a while, they're all essentially having the same engine quality, right? So what applies to resale and servicing of cars also applies to refurbishing, of, let's just say, aircrafts. Okay, and that's essentially the larger idea that we are talking about. So what happens here is a very simple explanation. We want to become one of the leaders in the world who are essentially service centers for the aircrafts. Service centers for the aircrafts. Okay, which means the maintenance, repair, and overhaul of the entire aviation industry can be done through this. So maintenance would mean maintaining aircraft, repairing aircraft, and overhauling means changing the aircraft and making it ready for a new buyer. So what do we need to do? First, we need to rationalize the taxes. Rationalize means we need to lessen the taxes. Second, aircraft component repairs and airframe maintenance to increase. So we have to make sure that we're giving more indigenous boosts to aircraft components and making sure that there's more space at the airports and other places for something like this to happen. Okay, the idea is major engine manufacturers of the world, say Rolls-Royce, Boeing, and Airbus, they should set up engine repair facilities in the country. Okay, and eventually converge between defense and civil MROs. So, for defense aviation, for armed aviation, for fighter jets, and for civil aviation, we should be able to provide combined facilities. When this happens, the maintenance cost of airlines comes down because now they don't have to fly everywhere else in the world. They can get their aircraft repaired, refurbished, they can get them upgraded, they can get all of this done in India itself. Okay. Now, out of all of this, what is this essentially talking about? It's talking about strengthening the aircrafts. And aircrafts is a part of infrastructure. Yes, aircrafts is a part of infrastructure. Right? Now, so this is what has happened. Now, let the magic begin. You will have to make a consolidated note on civil aviation. And civil aviation will usually have two components to this. One, the sector as a whole, the entire civil aviation sector. And second, unfortunately, Air India. Correct? Sector and Air India. Clear? You need, say, 2 to 3 pages for the sector and maximum 1 to 2 pages for Air India. You may be directly asked a question here. You may be asked a question here. So you should have both of these always with you right from the beginning. Okay? Simple enough. So how do you go about this? I'll tell you. Introduction for civil aviation as a sector. Simple enough. One, you have to give some broad data on civil aviation. This broad data on civil aviation, you can keep updating it through the year, but you only need 1 or 2 lines of data. So, what would the broad data be? It would be, say, the number of private airlines in India is one of the largest in the world. For example, India has the largest number of private airlines in the world. We were one of the first countries in the world to come up with the concept of low-cost flying. Right? Clear on this? Data like that. Clear on this? So you can find 1 or 2 pieces of data and that should be enough. Okay. And then after this, once you're done with this, then you can give a context. Some kind of a context. You can say from Sahara Airlines to Kingfisher Airlines and more recently Jet Airways. The Indian civil aviation sector has always seen turbulent phases. The Indian civil aviation sector has always seen turbulent phases. Clear on this? Ban gaya? Apna introduction ready? Is everybody on point with the introduction? That's all. That's all that I need. I don't need anything fancy from you. Right? Now you come to the main body. Okay? When you come to the main body, you break the aviation sector. You break the aviation sector. You see what all are the components of the aviation sector, and we'll try to make it better. What are the core components? Let's take some examples. First, airlines. Second, airports. Yes. Third, passengers. Yes. And fourth, government regulation. Yes. Government regulation. Each of these points, yes, maintenance will come under these points. They'll come under these points. Right? Now, each of these points will have two subpoints. Now, guys, can you just hold on? Can you just hold on? Yes. I've told you this. Unless I've asked, please don't answer. Just hold on a second. Because when you type, 1 second. Can you guys stop, please? Yes. I will explain everything. Just hold on. Just hold on. Please don't break the flow of the class. There's a lot of effort that goes into this. Okay? Please have a little bit of understanding. Okay? Each of these headings will have two subpoints. What is the current state and what are the problems? What is the current state and what are the problems? Okay. And your conclusion would be solutions to A, B, C, and D. Okay. Let me explain this once again. Civil aviation sector note. How do you make it work? Civil aviation sector note on one hand. Intro, body, and conclusion. In the introduction, two parts. Data. That data can talk about two things. One, how India has one of the largest number of private airlines in the world. Two, how India gave the world the concept of low-cost flying. Correct? Then you can give some context. That from Sahala Airlines to Kingfisher Airlines to Jet Airways, the civil aviation sector has always seen turbulent times. Okay? Then you divide your answer or you divide your note into 4 headings. What can we do for airlines? What can we do for airports? What can we do for passengers? And how can government regulation be more streamlined? So currently, for example, let us say airlines. So what are the larger issues? You could say the airlines are financially not doing well. So one of the solutions could be have FDI in civil aviation to a larger extent. Airports, one of the problems is what is it that we don't have enough airports in the country. It does not connect enough places. And that is why we do not have enough of the airports connecting every passenger in the country to an airport, or at least a reasonable number. So a solution could be, the Udan scheme, Ude Desh Ka Naam Aam Nagrik, that. Third, with passengers, sometimes the airfares are very, very high. Sometimes you're not able to make it affordable. So how do you make it, more incentivized for passengers to use civil aviation? How do we get to promote civil aviation? How can you use civil aviation also for, touristic purposes, things like that. Fourth, let's say government regulations. So let us say a more transparent and open guidelines by DGCA. This, now see this, ये देखो ये कहाँ आएगा? गवर्नमेंट में. ये कहाँ आएगा? एयरपोर्ट्स में. ये कहाँ आएगा? एयरक्राफ्ट्स में. आ गया? दिख गया? ठीक है? बस सिंपल इनफ. ठीक है? क्लियर? बस आसान. Now in civil aviation, you have your 2 pages ready. Simple. You will not get a question beyond these 2-3 pages. Whatever it is here. So your aviation note is ready. Clear? Samyak, it will take some time. But once you get it right, it's easy to do. Okay? Don't worry. Once you get a hang of it, it's easy to do. Okay? Clear? I'll give you all the sources, Anand, and I've always given you sources. Just give me a second. Are we clear on this? ठीक है? अगर ये भी नहीं हो रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है, कोई बात नहीं. So no problem. Just write problems in the body and then solutions later on. That's also fine. You can always do problems and solutions. Ronak, conclusion is solutions to problem A, B, C, and D. Yes? Hold on, Nishant. I haven't spoken about Air India, so just calm down. Let me finish it. Just give me some time, please. Okay? Clear? Okay? Is civil aviation done? Now, where do you pick it up from? A very, very simple source for civil aviation. Remember yesterday I spoke to you about India at 75? For those who are appearing in 2020 and 2021 attempt. Chapter number 15 is called Civil Aviation. That's all. It's just about 2 to 3 pages in a similar format as you've discussed, and you're done. That's all. Pick up whatever points you want to, and you're done. Here? Okay? Yes? Done. Simple enough. That's okay, Sunny. No problem. It's okay. I can understand sometimes it happens. No problem, Nishant. Okay? Clear? All right. Air India. Let me first teach you Air India, and then we will talk about how to improve Air India. What are the larger answers to Air India? ठीक है. Now खुद ही सोच के देखो. Air India का question आएगा. So you might be using Air India. Now this is where the trick comes in. You will use Air India. Now you have to think कि मुझे Air India का question इस एग्जाम में कहाँ पूछेंगे? Where can they ask me questions on Air India? ठीक है? And over a period of time, that's okay, Shiv, let it be. Wherever, and this is important, you have to develop a sense of discretion. कि यार यही है, अब मैं इतना ही करके जाऊँ. इस पूरे सिविल एविएशन सेक्टर के अंदर, at the most, from the sector point of view, you would maximum be asked उड़ान. Maximum be asked उड़ान. ठीक है? That's all. कि उड़ान का key objectives क्या है, whatever it is. But nothing beyond that. Clear? This is largely going to be a consolidated answer in the mains. There isn't enough for you to be directly asked a full essay on civil aviation. You can use points from here in 10 different places, in development and all of those things. But apart from Udan, you will not see this. So where is Udan? Udan would be mentioned as one of the points here in your passengers. Clear on this? Otherwise, nothing else. And how do you know there's not going to be much else? Because you would have gone through at least the past 10 years previous year papers. So you will understand कि बस नहीं पूछे. Now you have to use the same discretion, and then you have to see, अच्छा Air India में क्या पूछ सकते हैं? If they can ask Air India, in what context can they ask Air India? Pre में Air India से क्या पूछेंगे? कुछ भी. Because most of it is factual and most of it are very specific data-driven problems that Air India has. Now, in the mains, where will you be using Air India? In two parts. One, you may get a direct 150-word question on Air India, on examine the problems and does Air India give special reference to Air India, what can be done to make the aviation sector better. तो ये. दूसरा, Air India can be used as a larger example on any other question on disinvestment strategy. Clear? Rajesh, if you're new in this class, I have to tell you this again. Please don't make me repeat myself. Don't break the flow of the class. Don't comment unnecessarily. Because the second somebody comments, I will always look and see if they're facing a tech issue or not. Okay? So please, if you know this, learn to be humble about it. यहाँ तक क्लियर है? ठीक है? समझ में आया? अब देखो, now this is technical. ये सीखना है. For example, this is important. When you're making your note on Air India, add a tag called disinvestment. ठीक है? You can do it physically. If you're making an Evernote out of it, add करके रख दो. कि later, when you're preparing before the mains exam, you quickly search disinvestment and you're looking for important articles or important issues relating to different disinvestment. तुमको आपके notes में Air India दिख जाएगा. If you're doing it physically, just add a post-it and say also use for disinvestment. समझ में आया? Clear on this? पक्का? Yes. Now I'll teach you Air India and then I'll tell you how to structure Air India. ठीक है? Alright. आसान लग रहा है ना? धीरे धीरे ये एक बार की मेहनत है यार. You're basically preparing for war. Once you prepare for war well enough, then instead of always being on a back foot, इससे क्या होगा? By the time June, July happens and current affairs actually start becoming important, you will already have your arsenal ready. It just reduce your reading time. It will all become so much better. So, that's why I'm using the garb of weekly current affairs to essentially cover these broad elements for you. है ना? आसान हो जाएगा. ठीक है? चलो, let's start. Yes. Context क्या है? Yes. Context क्या है? Air India was essentially established in 1932. You would have heard of a very popular company called Tata. Yeah, Tata was essentially one of the first people who कहते हैं कि टाटा ने ही इंडिया को इंडियन एयरलाइंस गिफ्ट करी थी. That's the common way to say this. So 1932, it was founded. Now, Indian Airlines and Air India were two different airlines. Primarily, the difference was Indian Airlines was supposed to be domestic and Air India was supposed to be international. Both of them were fully owned and still are fully owned by the government. Clear on this? Okay. And both of them were fully owned government company. Fully owned, heavily owned government companies. Okay. Now, over a period of time, they were obviously starting to have problems. So your for the mains part of it, your exams point of view, this is where it starts. In 2017, Indian Airlines and Air India was merged into National Aviation Corporation of India. National Aviation Corporation of India, and it all jointly becomes Air India. Okay? It is now under the larger ambit of Air India. So Air India would mean domestic also, international also. So usually you'll see Air India Express or Indian Express are for shorter, Indian Airlines Express are for shorter international flights. It's all now under one company. We don't have two companies anymore. It's one company, Air India. Official name is the National Aviation Corporation of India. Okay? In 2010, we acquired a massive fleet. हमने बहुत बड़ा ऑर्डर दिया था. हमको लगा अब मर्जर हो गया है तो हम ग्रो करने वाले हैं, तो हमको ज्यादा जहाज चाहिए. So Air India placed a massive order of more than 100 aircrafts in 2010. This was the blunder. ठीक है, because लोग दुकान में आ नहीं रहे और आप फ्लोर पे फ्लोर बनाए जा रहे हो. You understand this? People are not coming to your shop and you're adding floors to your multi-layered showroom. Okay. Between 2012 till 2017, about 26,500 crores of bailout was received. मतलब सरकार ने एक तरह से ग्रांट दी, ये रखो तो वापस मत करना, बस चला लो, उड़ा लो बस. ठीक है. In 2018, it was opened for a disinvestment. Okay? You can now sell shares. Now, what kind of disinvestment you must understand? I told you, merger happened. This National Aviation Corporation, National Aviation Corporation consists of three things. One, Air India, which is largely for international travel and select domestic travel routes. Second, Air India Express, which is usually for smaller international routes and domestic routes. And Air India SATS. अब ये बताता हूँ मैं क्या है. Because सरकारी है तो benefit मिलता है, priority मिलता है. Whether you're at Delhi airport, a Bangalore airport, a Bombay airport, a Chennai airport, any major airport. When you go to any major airport in this country, before you are reaching the airport, you will see this word here, SATS. है ना? Air India SATS terminal. ये दिखेगा आपको. ये cargo है. This is for a dedicated cargo terminal. ठीक है? SATS is Singapore Air Traffic Services. So SATS is essentially a joint venture between Air India and Singapore Air Traffic Services. उसमें से 50% Air India का है और 50% Singapore का है. ठीक है? Clear on this? Dedicated cargo. इंडिया में आपको हर एयरपोर्ट पे एयर इंडिया का एक डेडिकेटेड कार्गो टर्मिनल मिलेगा. And then you'll have another terminal जहाँ बाकी सब एयरलाइन जाते हैं. For example, remember Bangalore airport is the Menzies airport terminal. वो Menzies airport terminal कार्गो के लिए है, which is only and only for all airlines except Air India. ठीक है? So SpiceJet, Indigo, सबके भी तो कार्गो लोड होता है ना. तो कार्गो अलग जगह से आता है. मतलब एक एयरपोर्ट में इंसान अलग जगह से जहाज में चढ़ता है और सामान अलग जगह से जहाज में उतरता है. ठीक है? So for the passengers you have terminals, your regular terminals, and for cargo you have a separate terminal. I know this a little bit, a very interesting story. So and I'll tell you why I know this and why I know this so well, because that's why I think travel is very important. Experience is very important. So back in the day when I used to live in Bangalore many years ago, I had adopted a small little puppy in Bangalore from a shelter home in Bangalore. Now I had to move to Delhi, so I had to bring the puppy with me. Now there are two ways. It's very interesting, you'll understand this. So you can actually travel with a pet. You can actually travel with the pet in a train. Now for that, you can travel with a pet in a train in a first AC compartment. Or you can keep the pet in the luggage van of the train next to the guard. And in those cases, that also works. The problem is the Bangalore-Delhi train service is a very long journey. It's not like a Bombay-Delhi where in 12 hours, 13 hours you can reach. Then you figure out how else the pet with you, right? Now, every airline, this is very interesting trivia, every airline has their own pet uh, rules. The national airline of a country will always carry all pets. अब all pets का मतलब ये नहीं कि जिराफ लाद के ले जा रहे, वो नहीं कर सकते, मतलब all pets. ठीक है, clear on this? Yes, तो Air India does. Otherwise, every other airline has their own setup. Yes, they actually have their own setup. Yes. So, for example, in an Indigo airline, this is very interesting. In an Indigo airline, you can carry a cat can travel with you, a rabbit can travel with you, a tortoise can travel with you, a snake can travel with you, but dogs can't travel. Clearly, Indigo is not dog lover, so I don't like Indigo. Yeah. Yes. Every airline has their own ecosystem. In some airlines, if your animal, if the pet is of a specific size, you can actually carry them in the cabin with you. Otherwise, you have to carry them in cargo. Yep. Yes. Clear? We can carry them in the cargo. Exactly, Nishad, at least. Yes. You can carry them in the cargo. Yeah. So if the animal is slightly bigger, then you carry them in the cargo. Where does the cargo happen? At the cargo terminal. SpiceJet carries pets, carries dogs. So I remember I had flown SpiceJet from Bangalore to Delhi, and what SpiceJet, and there's actually some very technical details about it. So this is the aircraft, okay? This is where, the passenger sit. This is where the cargo hold is. Usually, the aircrafts which allow for pets will usually have a separate oxygenated chamber in the cabin. मतलब वहाँ oxygen जाए, so that the pet does not have difficulty breathing. So SpiceJet has those. So I went to the cargo terminal. They screened, they checked, what I did was, I know I should have or should have not done it, is a different story. I made sure that I sedated my little dog for a while and slept, woke up, I checked out, and then I went to the cargo terminal in Delhi. I took them and I took the pet and I came back home. So that's how. Yeah. That's actually true. You can carry. Clear? तो ये होता है कार्गो. ठीक है? Cargo. Yeah. So, open for disinvestment, no offer made, and over a period of time, the running costs have increased. So the point is, currently government owns 100% of Air India. They want to sell 76% of Air India. That was the idea. The government then, out of Air India Express, उन्होंने कहा ये सब ले जाओ, ये हमको नहीं चाहिए. And then Air India Cargo, which is joint venture between Air India and SATS, हमारा वाला ले जाओ, हमको नहीं चाहिए. Unfortunately, no one offered. बीच में बात हो रही थी इंडिगो से, but इंडिगो ने कहा कि हमको नहीं चाहिए. Indigo said it's too expensive, we don't want it. And if you've been following the news last week, the company that owns Indigo is called Interglobe Aviation. And Interglobe Aviation is now looking to buy another foreign airline. ठीक है? Clear? तो ये सब ड्रामा चल रहा है. Then the government also said कोई बात नहीं, हम bail out कर देंगे. They were wanting disinvestment, will bail out. So government इससे oscillate कर रहा है कि disinvestment भी चाहिए, bail out भी चाहिए. अच्छा इनको बेच दो, अच्छा इनको पैसे दे दो. And this is where you are kind of stuck. ठीक है? Okay. All right. अब देखो. आज एयर इंडिया का 12.8% मार्केट शेयर है. Where in the year 2020, not less than 30 years ago, 1980, 40 years ago, let us say 40 साल से पहले, ठीक है, not less than 40 years ago, ठीक है, और even if you say 1990 for that matter, 1990 ले लेते liberalization, 1990 में एयर इंडिया मोनोपोली थी, मतलब 30 साल के अंदर आपका 100% मार्केट शेयर से 12.8% मार्केट शेयर हो गया है. Something is not adding up. In fact, a lot of countries in the world have privatized their national airline. Lufthansa, for that matter. British Airways is under a process right now. Qantas, so many are privatizing their national airlines primarily because you don't have the time, you don't have the money, you don't have the energy for it. Clear on this? Samajh mein aaya? Understood this? Yes? Yes or no? And the interesting part is, India is the third largest aviation sector in the world, and Air India, which was supposed to be a monopoly, today is struggling with approximately debt of about 50,000 crores. 50,000 crores. समझ में आया? Context clear हो गया? समझ में आ रहा है क्या चल रहा है? ठीक है? Good. अब सॉल्व कैसे करें, ये भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. एयर इंडिया के अंदर क्या, एयर इंडिया को सॉल्व करने का प्रॉब्लम क्या है और उसका सोल्यूशन क्या है. ठीक है, सिंपल इनफ. एयरलाइन की बात करें, क्या प्रॉब्लम है? पैसा और ऑपरेशन, यही तो प्रॉब्लम है. मनी एंड ऑपरेशन. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई इज देयर अ डेट, व्हाट आर द प्रॉब्लम्स अबाउट. फर्स्ट, most of the debt that we see is because of a massive fleet acquisition that happened beforehand. A massive fleet acquisition that happened beforehand. जो हमने 2010 के आसपास aircraft मंगाए थे. First. Second, this is basic economics that we go wrong. For example, whenever you're shifting one house to another, the smart thing to do is, and if you have some time, sell individual items in your house. If you sell all of it together, the cost will become too high. And second, you might actually lose on the individual cost of the items because you're selling it all together at once. है ना, कि जो अपना राजेंद्र नगर का रूम खाली करो, विजय नगर का रूम खाली करो, तो ब्लॉक में सेल नहीं करना है अलग से कि ये मेरा चेयर लेके जा, ये मेरा टेबल लेके जा, व्हाट अ ग्रेट टेबल, इसमें मेरा यादें जुड़ा है, इसे लेके जा. ठीक है, पर तू बोलेगा चेयर टेबल कॉम्बो, तो ऑटोमेटिकली हेवी हो जाएगा एंड इंडिविजुअली चेयर टेबल का कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा. ठीक है. The crude oil pricing, which is essentially fluctuations of crude oil. Abhi to thankfully there is a crude oil crisis, so the prices have gone down. But fluctuations in crude oil affect the industry very badly. Okay, and of course, crude oil has to be paid in dollars, and what happens is when the Indian currency becomes weak in compared to dollars, you end up paying more for the same amount. And because we haven't been able to sort this out, with every passing month, quarter, year, the costs are increasing. If Air India is worth X, after 1 year it will be X minus Y. After 2 years it will be X minus Y minus Z. Clear? You're reducing their valuation because the losses are mounting up. समझ में आया? Clear? अब solutions क्या है? Finance. अगर बेचना है तो फ्रेगमेंटेड बेचो. एयर इंडिया ये, सो सेल लेट अस से द ग्राउंड डिवीजन ऑफ एयर इंडिया. लेट्स से यू सेल द ग्राउंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एयर इंडिया. एयर इंडिया का लेट अस से तुम एक सेक्टर बेच रहे हो, या तुम सिर्फ एविएशन में तुम सिर्फ लेट अस से फ्लाइट्स का बेच रहे हो, बाकी आप कमर्शियल ऑपरेशंस अपने पास रखना चाहते हो. ऐसे फ्रेगमेंट करके बेचो ना, कि एयर इंडिया में तो बहुत काम हो रहा है ना, ग्राउंड है, क्या कार्गो है, फ्लाइट्स है, सेक्टर्स है, तो अलग अलग करके बेचो. सो दैट्स फ्रेगमेंटेड सेल. सेकंड, लोन्स अगेंस्ट असेट्स. Instead of taking in loans, what has happened is you essentially mortgaged. Instead of taking making blanket orders without having the capacity to pay them. Always take loans against assets, ताकि अगर repayment नहीं भी कर पाओ तो asset ही जाएगा. Your core company remains afloat. So that's another solution to this. ठीक है? Then comes management and operations. ये बहुत simple है, हर जगह लगता है. First, retention of government control. जरूरत नहीं. You don't. Does India really need a national airline? No. We have enough private airlines covering enough areas, and if needed, you can always hire a private airline for emergency evacuation support. Everybody will be more than happy to help you out. No problem at all. तो जो आपका ये एयर इंडिया ऑपरेशंस होते हैं, ये सब होता है, आप सब आराम से कर सकते हो, ऐसा कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. जो फॉर एग्जांपल योर कोविड इवैक्यूएशंस आर हैपनिंग, इवन इफ एयर इंडिया वाज नॉट देयर, यू वुड हैव हायर्ड अनदर एयरलाइन एंड यू वुड हैव यूज्ड, है ना. करा तो था. इंडिगो स्पाइस जेट ट्रैवल तो कर रहा था ना पीपीई मूवमेंट लेके. दे वर डिलीवरिंग. अगर वो पीपीई मूवमेंट डिलीवर कर सकते हैं तो लोगों को इवैक्यूएट नहीं कर सकते? कर सकते हैं. फिर सो यू डोंट हैव टू. कोई ऐसा दिल पे मत लो कि नहीं मैं सरकार है, मेरा होना चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. सम ऑफ द दैट्स ओके. सम ऑफ द मोर यू वुड से सम ऑफ द मोर डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड डोंट हैव अ नेशनल एयरलाइन. अब नहीं है तो नहीं है. आर दोस कंट्रीज इन अ मेस? नो. सेकंड, वर्क कल्चर. ठीक है. अब this is a very simple lateral entry principle. देखो, you guys as bureaucrats no doubt have seen the world, have a very diverse, rich and varied experience. But I'm not looking for somebody as a father figure who has seen the world. I'm looking for somebody who's going to be the CEO of a company and turn the company's fate around. So even if you don't want to sell it, at least get private people with private experience to head it. Unless you have somebody who has core aviation business experience, वो नहीं चला पाओ at the higher level, at the larger level, है ना. ये issue है. Yes or no? I understand that the bureaucracy is very smart and very able, but company चलाना, पैसे बनाने हैं, business करना है, and aviation is a very complex business. It's a very, very, threshold kind of a business. And you need the right kind of expertise. Yes or no? That's the basic idea. And apart from this, of course, Air India has always had work culture problems. And Air India is basically State Bank of India in the air. The basic problem यही है कि तुमको डर लगेगा कि तुम एयर इंडिया में ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, तुमको भूख लग गई है, तो तुमने बोला है सर मैम कुछ खाने को दे दो. वो पाताल लोक है बेटा, स्वर्ग लोक में, है ना. दैट्स द इशू. क्लियर ऑन दिस? डर लगता है ना. देयर सो मेनी टाइम्स वेयर at the counter, you're telling Air India officials कि कि मेरा टिकट तो नहीं करें, नहीं जाने देते, प्राइवेट वाले अलाउ करते. ठीक है. किंगफिशर जेट एयरवेज क्यों नहीं चला? बिकॉज दे वर बिल्ट ऑन बैड फाइनेंशियल मॉडल्स. ठीक है. Clear on this? Understood? Yes. Yeah. So loans against assets is you should start taking loans against your existing assets. You should not just blanket take loans without good collateral. Otherwise, you will have to liquidate your company to sell it off. ठीक है. Clear? All right. Good. तो ये सब कवर कर लिया हमने. अब हमने ये सब कवर कर लिया तो यार ऐड कर लेते हैं कि अब एयर इंडिया में कैसे करेंगे. Simple on this. Lateral entry is hiring private people with good aviation experience as senior management in Air India, है ना. अब इसको ऐड कर देते. करेक्ट. Introduction, body, conclusion. इंट्रोडक्शन में क्या आएगा? फॉलोइंग थिंग्स. A few things. One, the historical context, है ना, जो मैंने बताया था. founded in 1932, merged in 2007, desperately trying for disinvestment without any offer being made. Second, Indian civil aviation is the third largest sector in the world. तो आपने एक डेटा कॉन्टेक्स्ट भी दे दिया, डेटा भी दे दिया और एक थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री भी दे दिया, बस बहुत है. अब आ जाओ कोर इश्यूज. वन, फाइनेंशियल. सेकंड, मैनेजमेंट. आप चाहो तो थर्ड अलग से ऑपरेशंस लिख सकते हो, और यू कैन राइट ऑपरेशंस हियर इटसेल्फ एंड एक्सप्लेन व्हाट आर द प्रॉब्लम्स. Solutions to 1 and 2 is your conclusion. हो गया, बस. कितना मुश्किल है, समझ में आया? Clear on this? Yes. Good. This is called a stakeholder method. Figure out who's involved, figure out the larger themes, and just give problem and solutions. Clear? समझा? Good. Very, very good. ठीक है? All right. Good. Malaika, take up some questions and then I'm going to now, मैंने धीरे धीरे किया, I'm going to do these classes every day this week, because even if it takes time, that's fine, so that you all understand it better, so that your notes are ready. So I will not rush to this. So आज आपका homework है civil aviation का एक note ready करना. Clear on this? Every day. कल हम रियल एस्टेट करेंगे, MSME सेक्टर करेंगे, मैं चाह रहा हूँ कि एजुकेशन और हेल्थ भी कल करें. उसके बाद I'd like to move to agriculture, so that by Friday or something your basic core notes are ready. उसके बाद next Monday I will meet you for this week itself, है ना? तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, धीरे धीरे you will learn. But I need you guys to work with me on this. आज मैंने ये सिखा दिया है, आज take some time on this, use it, get ready. ठीक है, चलो let's look at a couple of questions. Okay, Harshvardhan. Okay, yes, Harshvardhan, India at 75. India at 75. This one because it is more detailed. ठीक है, it is more detailed and it is more recent also. वो 3-year action agenda 2020 तक के लिए था, आप ये यूज कर सकते हो. This is more detailed, but one of the two is fine. She will upload it today. शताब्दी, these classes, are they relevant for pre or the main? बेटा वो तो आपकी श्रद्धा पे डिपेंड करता है. आपको अच्छा लगता है तो कर लो, नहीं लगता है तो रहने दो. ठीक है, only aviation takes time but we'll do it properly. ठीक है, क्लियर? क्यों समय तेरे को प्रॉब्लम, हम धीरे धीरे चल रहे हैं तो तेरे को और चाहिए 1 घंटे में. क्लियर? ठीक है. So for the pre, honestly not much, but for the mains, yes. तो मैं धीरे धीरे करा रहा हूँ, आराम से करा रहा हूँ, बहुत टाइम. ओके, हाँ तो वो आ सकता है उसमें पॉइंट, पार्किंग फीस वाला. नो, यू डोंट नीड टू नो ग्रीन एंड ब्राउन फील्ड. After lowering the price of air traffic fees, aircraft can be Mandeep, it should be put under GST, but they are not doing it. It's just a policy deadlock. Yes, you can include recommended schemes and solutions in the conclusion. Yes, essential commodities would require an ordinance. After the ordinance, you will have to take it to the parliament. Yes, Ajit. I will discuss this, don't worry. Government regulations and what can the government do to make the sector better, है ना? कि FDI आपने policy increase कर दी, आपने airspace restrictions खोल दिए. It's one of those things. We've had strict licensing is because we believe the aviation sector is sure. Anshumali, just do a Google search. The first link that मैं यही डाल देता हूँ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, मैं यही डाल देता हूँ, तो मैं यहीं से निकाल दूँ. टेलीग्राम में मैं डाल दूंगा, बट यहीं से निकाल. ठीक है, डोंट वरी, अभी मैं यही डाल देता हूँ. ठीक है, we should. Okay, I'll give you a couple of model answers also. Supply side would mean making sure that enough airports people are willing to talk. So, हो सकता है, try to fly. Approximately conclusion should be 30 to 50 words, not more than that. Don't worry about the word limit right now. Make it as consolidated as you can. It's a company which got it's the name of the company after the merger. Akansha has discussed the fragmented sale. होगा बेटा तुषार, आज से कर दूंगा मैं, थोड़ा टाइम लग रहा है. ओके. एक सेकंड. ये लो, इंडिया at 75. ठीक है. Cover contract farming. तो बेटा शिवी, they can hire the private organization part time for Mission Vande Bharat. Okay, yes. Mayur, that's the whole problem. जब वो even Chennai floods also, or Chennai Delhi flight was some 50,000 rupees. The idea is you should sell in. The problem is nobody's buying for 76%, Shashank. That's the whole issue. Monopoly is never with one. Is never with a bunch of private players. Always with one. ना? और वैसे भी overall merging of all private companies into one will not be allowed under the Competition Act. Overstaffing could be a problem. I don't have the data for it. Yes, we should outsource. Lufthansa for a very long time used to. Because Air India has a huge asset base. They have a huge aircraft base. They have very good aircraft. They've got very good staff. They have very good technical support. They have a lot of assets on ground support. तो वही होता है. But I generally looked on the internet, Deepak. Otherwise, you'll find it in any of these editorials. आते जाते मिल जाएगा. Please do, I'll correct them. No, the whole point is your body should tell me what it is and what are the problems. The solutions come in the conclusion. हमेशा last में तो वो पूरा it comes. Don't worry. It's a flow. So don't worry. शुरू तो करो, अपने आप सीख जाओ. Shruti, focus on both. If your class notes, yes, are prepared, just add. The idea is, boss, your class notes, are they in the form of how we are doing this? तो यही है. मैंने अभी लिंक खोल के देखा, खुल रहा है साक्षी. You can give innovative solutions also. Not really. Civil Aviation Ministry does not get particularly involved here. 2022 is too early. Start making these consolidated. Just keep headlining it, Siraj, and that should be enough. अच्छा, तो एक काम करो, ये खुल जाना चाहिए. रुक जाएगा, खुल जाएगा. And just click on document. Not really. No, you don't have to collect data from Hindu as much. मैं टेलीग्राम पे शेयर कर. ठीक है, क्लियर ऑन दिस? हो गया. एविएशन रेडी हो गया, हाय रोहित, क्लियर, पक्का, विल पिक अप अदर सेक्टर। हाँ चल रहा है। I do recommend Evernote, GoodNotes, OneNote, whatever, Microsoft OneNote, I always recommend। ठीक है, क्लियर, ठीक है, लिख सकते हो यार, देवांश तेरे को आता है तो लिख दे भाई एक्स्ट्रा पॉइंट, मैं तो बस टेंसिल दे रहा हूँ, मैंने पूरा एविएशन सेक्टर को 1 घंटे में पढ़ा सकता है क्या, है ना, क्लियर ऑन दिस, ठीक है, डन, है ना, गुड, चलो सी यू गाइस टुमारो एट 12:30, विल पिक अप। नहीं बेटा, मैं तुम दे दो, मैं बहुत खुश हूँ, तुम दे दो, है ना, ऋषभ, जले पे नमक नहीं डालते बेटा। All right, I'll put this up. Thank you. See you guys. Bye. See you at 12:30 tomorrow.